everyone, and happy Monday morning to all of you out there. I'm super excited to be here with Dr. Kalpana Sundar. This is going to be a really good day because we met, like 6 months ago, and just like right away, we just hit it off. And our energy, I was like, you're someone I want in my life. I need to have you around me. She's in California, so it's been a little bit difficult to navigate that, but it just goes to show the power of friendships and energy and the people that you meet, right? So I would even say that it's possible that that would be a conscious business, but I'm going to let you talk amongst that a little bit more as we grow. And I think it's important for us to chat more today on Monday, June 24th. That's what today's day is, to chat more about how we can run a business the way we really want to be present and run a business, and not kind of the old typical way of maybe how you were taught or a mentor taught you 20 years ago. Just like we don't use computers or phones the way we did 20 years ago, I think the way we run our businesses are different today. So I'm happy to spotlight you as a member of the LEAP community today, Kalpana, and I'm so glad that you're here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure when I get to hang out with you, even though it's remote and virtual.
That's okay, because, back in the day when we were doing COVID, if you remember, everyone was having like family happy hours and getting together
Mhm.
with members of the family over Zoom. I know we did. I was scrolling through some old photos and found some photos of Easter when we were in the middle of COVID, right? It just happened in April and March, and it was April. And my husband flies a drone. So he was dropping, we were doing videos and dropping Easter baskets to the kids from across the street and taking photos. So
That's
that
so
was the
cute.
hardest time in my life, of
Mm.
not being able to like hug the babies, and
Mm.
my grandkids. And that was just a really tough time because there were so many of us. So technically we have, 30 of us when we get together. So we couldn't get together as a close family, and everyone was being very, careful. And I understand that, but times are different, and that's my point of today. Like, we grow, we change, times change. Are you pivoting and growing and changing, or are you just dying when things happen like that? Did your business fail because you just refused to pivot or try something different? And I want you to talk a little bit about how you've gone from being an ENT, here's no throat, yep, ENT surgeon, to who you are today, like that shift and why you did it, and then all of the shifts you've gone through since then, because I think that's important to share, for people to really understand why it's important for us to keep evolving.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite topics. So, I was an ear, nose, and throat surgeon for almost 20 years. I had my very busy practice. I was a solo practitioner. I had a medical spa, and it was busy, a very busy life. And I just didn't feel like that was what I was anymore in the weirdest way. I just didn't really agree with a lot of what was happening in medicine. I didn't feel that I was able to take care of patients in the way that I wanted to. And the biggest part of it all was that I felt I was called to something much greater. One of the things that when you're seeing patients is you're seeing people one on one, and I felt I was meant to make a greater impact, and it wasn't going to be one on one anymore. So that's the basic thing that started that pivot for me in my life. And then after that, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. So once I stopped, I said, "Oh my God, I have to take some time, figure out what I need to do." So at first, I started with, I want to speak. I've always loved speaking. I've done it in my practice, and talking about ENT topics, aesthetic topics, etc. Then I knew that I had more information than just that. So then I went to get my coaching certification, and that was nice. I liked that. I started coaching people. But you know where the real evolution happened with was with who I wanted to coach. So I was having some difficulty with the word coach because I don't know. These days, I just feel everybody's got this coachy mentality, which isn't for me. So I really was struggling with that. So I evolved. First, it was about women's empowerment. Then it was, aesthetic professionals. And finally, I really feel that this is the last one because I don't know, we're constantly evolving and I'm okay with that. So I finally realized that there was a common thread with all the people that I like to work with. And what they are is they are healers. Those are the people that I'm attracting. And you don't realize that right away because you just doing what you're doing and you don't really evaluate and you don't take that bird's eye view to see who am I attracting? Who am I enjoying working with? And that's when I realized everybody I enjoy working with is a healer. They've left this corporate type of medical structure. They want to create their own businesses, but they're very conscious about it. They have a specific type of business that they're trying to create, not just a for-profit business that makes money. So I was like, oh, this is my jam. It was like this light bulb moment, eureka.
Yeah. And I think it takes a while for us to really feel
Mhm.
into when you decide to make a huge shift like you did, it takes a while for us to really kind of shed some layers and get down to the core of who we are, who we attract, what we want to do, what lights us up. And it took me years to really settle into realizing that some people would say, well, just because you've been trained on it and you love it doesn't mean that's your purpose, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, well, numbers light me up, business lights me up. That's the things I want to talk about. If someone comes to me about their relationship, like I'm checked out pretty quick. I'm not, I really don't, I'm not one of those individuals. Like I quickly learned life coaching would never be a thing that I loved. And being a business consultant for almost 25 years now, it's like, wait a minute, that is like what I love to do is consulting on business and consulting around the structure of business and strategies in business and getting clarity. And those things happen for all of us at every point of shifting around either careers or if you're coming out of college into working your career that you graduated with that degree in, a job. So I
Mhm.
think we're talking to everybody here when we're talking about, a conscious business. Do you know businesses off the top of your head that you would think as an example are one of those types of businesses, and explain to us what is that type of business so
So it's
everyone listening
really there are a
understands.
couple of hallmarks of a conscious business. And one of the big things is that they are transparent in their decision making. Their decisions are not made only solely for profit, but for the benefit of their customers, their employees. Obviously, the business has to make a profit, so that's part of it. Conscious businesses are also doing the right thing no matter what. They care about what happens to society. They care on the impact on the environment, all these extra things. And this isn't true, I think every business has its own version. But one thing that I'm doing specifically when I help healers transition into their own conscious business is I'm actually helping them create a life that's very authentic to them. So it's not just about business practices. It's about allowing them to understand themselves better so that they create a business that's in alignment with who they are and what they want out of life. That's huge.
That's your book right there. So
Yeah.
she has a book, Beauty Unbound, and we'll have the link available for you below because I read the book and that's what your book is about. It really
Mhm.
is about creating that life. And I see so many people make the mistake of coming out of corporate America, starting a business, and they create a job identical to a job they would have had in corporate America with all of these boundaries. And they
Mhm.
don't become unbound now, they're bound to this business and they hate it after a while. And they fizzle out and it fails because they can't keep up that level of a job that they created. And my husband and I were actually sitting, I was taking my vitamins and drinking my protein shake and sitting in his office this morning. He kind of looked at me shocked, like, why are you sitting in my office just talking to me about this stuff? And I said, don't you think how hilarious it is that in corporate America, when I was there, I was working almost 60 hours. We now own 4 businesses and I work like 35, maybe tops hours a week, 4 businesses. I was one employee of 38 people and I had to work 60 hours a week. And now I own 4 businesses of our own and work 35 hours max on a week, or like this week, less because we're leaving for his birthday and we're taking a little vacation to go up north in the Grand Canyon.
That's huge. I
Yeah.
mean, living life is about living life, and your
Yeah.
business shouldn't overtake your life. And most people I've seen that transition into entrepreneurship, what they do is exactly what you're saying. They trade one job for another. And often the entrepreneurship job is way worse than the job they had, because they'll work more hours because it's their baby and they're
Mhm.
emotionally vested. And oh, it's terrible. So they create these soul sucking monsters. That's what I call my
Yeah.
ENT practice, the soul sucking monster. And it sucks your soul. And it wasn't what they went after, but they didn't consciously create what they wanted.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I do think it takes pivoting and change and growth. So it's very important for all of us to go through that period of time when we're transitioning, whenever you're in a transition. So if you're in a transition from being single to married, if you're in a transition from being a non, not having children to becoming a mother, transition, divorce, transition, career to entrepreneurship, or the opposite way around, entrepreneurship to career, because now you've had how many years of freedom in your schedule, and going back to kind of a container where
Mhm.
things are a little bit more strict and confined versus the way it was before. And I've told everyone I know, like, I'm totally unemployable at this point, and I never understood what people would mean when they said that. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, I've created the lifestyle. And I laughed at my husband because I said, technically, I think you're retired. Do you feel like you're retired? And he's like, yeah, I guess, because he doesn't work that much. He spends time with a golf trainer, spends time several hours a week golfing with the grandkids, takes them out, especially because it's summer. And I'm like, we're kind of doing what we want to do when we want to do it, but we're also operating businesses and generating income at the same time. More, way more than we ever did back working in corporate America. So, what would you say to individuals that are scared for really becoming um, that person and wants to run that type of business? What are you saying to them now, and what are some tips you can give them?
Well, fear is very, very common, especially when you're going to embark on something new and create a transition in your life. It's just about getting out of your comfort zone. And I know we hear this all the time, and it's not as easy to do as people say. But I really look at it like just really staring that fear in the face and really identifying what is scaring me so much, writing down what it is. Because often when you just write it down, it doesn't seem as bad as it might seem up in your head. So once we address those things, often it's usually about money and success. Will they be able to make it? Imposter syndrome. Those are the common reasons that people are fearful. But once you write those things down, and you can start to tackle them one by one. It isn't always easy, because I have to say entrepreneurship is a very difficult journey. And if I had the ability to have mentorship when I was doing it, I would have done it. It would have saved me so much time, money, headache, heartache, stress, you name it, because it is not an easy process, especially if you haven't done it before. There's so many variables at play. So, those are the big things that I would say. It's usually fear. That's the big
Yeah.
one for most
A
people.
1000%, I'm with you. And we all need mentorship. It was the mentorship that I received while I was in corporate America that allowed me to have the confidence and the education and the know how
Mhm.
to really become a strong entrepreneur.
Right.
And I leaned on that for a long time when I had come out of corporate America. Like, this is my first time not having a job my entire life. So to come out in my late, mid 40s
Mhm.
and then say, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is be an entrepreneur, and I don't know where that's going to take me. It's like, wow, that's a big, bold move, but I don't think I could have done it without the mentorship. So that's what you're offering, is the mentorship for those healers. And those healers are who? Give me an
So
example.
anybody in the world of medicine, I mean, honestly, they could be doctors, they could be nurses, they could be nurse practitioners, they could be physician assistants, they could be ultrasound techs, anybody who is in the medical industry. And I've met so many of these people that they're just not really feeling fulfilled in the corporate medical structures that they're currently in. And they have ideas for different businesses. Often they're within the medical realm, but sometimes they're completely out of the medical realm. And that's fine too. It doesn't have to be a healthcare based business for me to mentor them. It's
Yeah.
mostly about creating something that's conscious. Now, if people lack integrity, I will not work with them. So if you're creating a business that's all about the money and you just want to do this and charge as much as you can and make money and not really deliver on your product, I mean, I ask these specific questions because I do not enjoy working with, or I've had this happen to me. So I don't like how it feels, people charging an exorbitant amount for their services, but didn't really deliver. I don't like how that feels. And I don't want to do that for somebody. I want to be able to sleep at night. So I want to make sure that people got the value out of what the time they spent and the money that they put in. Because to me, that's really important because I guess in a nutshell, I am running a conscious business. I don't only care about the profit. And that's what you see all over social media. Oh, I scaled this business to 7 figures. I did this, I did this. And I'm like, well, great. That's just money. At the end of the day, that's not that important. I mean, it is, but not as important as they're making it seem. And I don't like that our society only cares about that.
Right. That is what is the result of everything else that we do. And I think we
Right.
have to remember that it's the result of everything else we do. And money should never be the driving force ever. Yes, it becomes the icing on the cake, but it should never be the driving force. Like my husband and I launching a franchise and scaling that business, it gives me more pleasure, just as it always has for 25 years, of helping just people like you and I, Kalpana, be able to own our own businesses, but in a way for them that is safe because they don't have to test the market. It's already been tested. They don't have to figure out a logo. They already have one. They don't have to figure out marketing. So they want to say, see ya, corporate America. They want to have the freedom to own their own business, earn way more money they ever made in corporate America, and have that freedom like we do to go on vacation or travel or do what it is that we need to do. And it could be something as simple as your child is homesick that day, and you don't have to call a boss or someone yelling at you because you need
Right.
time. You just scoop that child up and maybe you put them in the car with you and take them and get your things done that you need to do that day in that business. So for me, it's about the freedom for individuals to be able to live their life to the fullest as a family, and
Mhm.
not really worry about that 9 to 5 and the confinements like we talked about earlier of corporate America. So, that's why I'm doing it. And then, yeah, great. The money comes with that, but it's not the purpose behind why we're doing it. I enjoy, like, to my core, giving people opportunities to have a better life.
Right.
And
Right.
that's a way I can do it.
Mhm.
And I think that's important for each one of us, to what is it about us that we have an impact on other individuals, and where
100%.
what that looks like. And I love what you said. You don't have to be in that space, but if you're not a doctor and you've maybe never been a physician or a pharmacist, but you're a healer and you work a lot with energy, it's perfect to have a mentorship with you, for
Mhm.
them to run that type of a business, because too many people are out there working themselves to death when they don't need to be,
Right.
and they could be doing it so much better. And the only way we know how to do that is by getting the right mentorship. And we can do that with you. So
Yes, yes. And
yeah,
healers are interesting because they tend to not feel like they want to give away everything for free. So
yeah.
there's a balance, with like really serving humanity and also making sure that you're taking good care of yourself. There's a
For
balance.
sure. All right, girlfriend. So we're wrapping up today. drkalpanasunder.com. You can find out so much about my good friend here and book a time with her. Follow her on Instagram. She's super fun to watch on Instagram, has some great videos. And then her Beauty Unbound book. I Here's the link for you to go ahead and go grab that on Amazon. I read it. It's a great book for I would say, any female that is thinking about running a business, looking to climb corporate America, whatever that is. It's a great book. I love this book and your journey and what you went through, and going from just this tiny little cocoon to a butterfly. It was just a beautiful story. So thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for being a valued member of the community. We love spotlighting you, putting you in the spotlight, because you shine every time.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Again, have a wonderful rest of your week. I know we're approaching on a holiday weekend next week, but we will be back next Monday with another member of the LEAP community to spotlight them and see how she did it, and then get to celebrate her successes and have her give you a few tips on what you can do to do it too. So thank you, Dr. Kalpana, for being with us. And thank you all for watching our show today. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.